Hey y'all, I'm Laura with Hot Fan Media, and today we're going to be talking about the basic care and maintenance of Toyota Prius vehicles. Let's get to it. So whether you are looking into buying a Prius or you already own one, today we're going to be covering some of the general maintenance items that you can be looking out for as a buyer or as a owner that will help you either keep your vehicle healthy or check the health of a vehicle you are looking into. It seems to be that in a wide range of years, all of this maintenance is the same. Filters, reservoirs, the battery, all of this can be found in the same places. We'll be covering where to find your manual, the filters and how to get to them, where to find your fluid reservoirs, how to check your oil, the tires, and where to find out how much pressure needs to be in your tires, where your 12-volt battery is, where to find your spare tire and roadside assistance items, and points underneath the vehicle where Toyota has designed for a jack to be placed in the event of a roadside emergency. Okay, so one of the things that is most helpful in the maintenance of a Prius is of course the manual. In the glove box, and wow, this person has a very big one. We're looking for the owner's manual. In the manual, there are bulleted points. There is a alphabetical index. So if you're looking for a fuse, you would go to fuses. If you're looking for engine oil capacity, you're looking for coolant, engine coolant. This is how you're going to find those specific things in your manual. So the index is something that I use quite a lot, especially when I'm looking for fuses. But what we are going to be looking for is the maintenance portion. One of the things that I love about Toyota, they do have this section that is labeled red. It's very easy to get to when trouble arises. So this is going to be your flat tires, emergency flashers, warning lights. This is something's happened, I don't know what's going on, and it is marked and easy to find. Now we are going to look for the cabin air filter. I really only replace these if I'm smelling a smell. If somebody has had an animal, like they keep their animal in the car often, there will be hair and a smell in the cabin air filter. The air will go through the cabin air filter and then through the entire vehicle. So if there is a smell, that can be the source of it. That can be a way to mitigate any kind of smell that you are not a fan of. Pop the glove box, set our manual aside, and then one of the things we're gonna do first is we've got to pinch this right here and get the arm to come off. And it just slides right off, and we're just gonna set it aside. You're gonna wanna push these two sides in as you pull it down. And it's really stiff. Normally on other vehicles, this is not stiff, but this one just wanted to pop off, so that's fine. But this is the two sides that you're trying to get pushed in. So this right here, which I mean, you can't really push it, and this right here. And this is where your cabin air filter is. You're gonna push in one side and it slides right out. And this is your air filter, and it has been mushed in here for some reason. And it's really bad. So this is gonna be one that we're gonna have to replace. I wasn't smelling a smell, but this one is really bad, and it also didn't fit in correctly. But we're just gonna stick it back in for now because I don't have a replacement on the shelf. I think this was maybe not the right size. And your cover goes on. You're gonna slide that right into that spot there, and then snaps right in. Now we're just going to slide that back onto its hinge and push it in and put our handle back on. Just slide that over. Okay, so first thing we're gonna do is pop the hood, and your hood latch is just right here by the door. So your hood latch is just underneath the hood right here to the right, and you're gonna push up on it and it comes right up. And your hood stand, which on most vehicles is down here, is gonna be up underneath the hood, and you're just gonna pop it out and it sticks right in here. One of the first things that I am looking for when I check in a vehicle, and one of the things you should be looking for when you're maintaining one, is your engine air filter. This air filter is really easy to get to. Some of them are not, but you just pop off these clips and then you slide it out like this. And if you want to get it off completely, you're going to need to unscrew this clamp and pull it out, but we don't have to do that. All we're wanting to do is just to slide this filter out It's pretty clean. I don't really replace these unless they look filthy on this side, which so the air is coming through this side and it's being filtered out. So if it's dirty, really dirty on this side, you're gonna wanna replace it, it's time. But this one is not. So we're just gonna slide it back in, and you wanna make sure that this rubber sits down right here so that there's a seal created when you put the lid back on. I catch a lot of these here in the shop, not Priuses specifically, but just vehicles where the filter has not been put in correctly and it creates air gaps for all kinds of filth to get in. So that's not a good thing. This just slides up. These tabs, you're just going to slide them back up into here. There's nothing that they really grab onto. And then you're going to hold it down and put your clips back on. One of the things that you're going to do when you're just checking for basic maintenance is the levels of these fluid reservoirs. This one is full, that one is full, they're in between those lines. And that is your coolant reservoir over there, and it is also full. The very last thing that I like to check is your windshield wiper fluid, and Priuses have this nifty little dipstick, so we can tell that the fluid goes up to here, and that's plenty of fluid. So we're just gonna stick that back in there. Most vehicles don't have this. I think I've really only seen it on Priuses. It's very easy to find, but one of the things to check is the oil. I've just performed an oil change. I haven't put the oil back in it yet. This is the cap to the top. It actually has the weight of oil that you need for this vehicle stamped on the top of it. Most vehicles do. I'm just gonna set that aside. And this is the dipstick. It isn't really gonna show any oil on it because I've drained it. When you're looking at your dipstick, you're looking for 2 dots or 2 indicators. You don't want it right at that top dot. This is full. Anything above it is definitely overfilled. I like to fill them somewhere around here, but yeah, these dots or indicators are what you're looking for. So now we're just gonna stick it back in its tube. Cap goes back on here. Okay, so our oil pan is gonna be underneath this cover. I'm gonna use my pry tool to get these pops out. You can also use a flathead screwdriver. There's one here, one back here. Okay, so this is a little different than some of them I've worked on. This is just supposed to fold, not to be completely removed. That's actually kind of annoying because I can imagine that oil drips down on this when performing an oil change, so you may want to get a bungee cord, but this is your oil pan and that's your oil plug. Whenever you perform your oil change yourself and you're draining your oil pan, it's a good idea to go to the motor and twist off the oil cap so that there isn't any kind of suction being created. So the filter is right here next to your pan. Another thing that I love about Toyotas, they're right down here together. You can drain them at the same time. But one of the things that I have grown to not appreciate as much about this vehicle is the canister filter. It takes a very special wrench. It's got these notches in it and it fits right on. We will have a link to this wrench in the description for y'all. When you put it back on, you only want to get it hand tight. You hand tighten it and then like one little bump after. Once it gets that suction, it'll be tighter than when you tightened it. I wouldn't drain the pan until you've made sure that you can get the canister off first. And if you can't get the canister off, you're gonna need to consider breaking it and replacing it or sending it to someone with better tools. But yeah, it's unfortunate, but I encounter a lot of these that are just insanely over tightened. Okay, so the next thing you're gonna wanna check when you're doing some basic maintenance is your light bulbs. Whenever you're doing your oil change or replacing a filter or whatever, that is one of the things that you can check, and it doesn't take that long. Here in the shop, I don't always have somebody who can check all the lights with me, but you really do need 2 people for things like the reverse light, because I can't put it in reverse and go back and check it. I can't be in 2 places at once. So it is gonna take 2 people to check some of the lights, but for the most part, you can just turn your light on. So this is your light switch, and you're gonna turn it on. And then I usually go to the caution light, which puts both the blinkers on. So now we're gonna go look at the light bulbs. And the last thing that you can check by yourself is just the brights. You're just gonna push this stick forward and that turns your brights on. And if you're parked like up against your garage or up against a wall or something, you can see from inside the vehicle that both of them are coming on, but we're just gonna visually check. It also shows you how to change your light bulbs, which is something I couldn't get the camera in there to show you, but this is going through the which way to turn the bulb to get it to come out, all that good stuff. If you do happen to have to change lights out in this area, you just want to be mindful of these wires. This is dangerous amounts of voltage and it will hurt very badly. This is nothing you want to mess with. It's safe to touch, but messing with these wires is definitely a no-go. You just want to be careful around them. That is it for the engine compartment and the basic maintenance that you're going to be wanting to look for, usually doing an oil change. These are your tires. To check the tread, you just kind of run your fingers around and you can find an indicator, and unfortunately both of them are not like right here in the light, but you can feel it with your finger, and this tire has got a lot of good tread on it, but that is one of the things you're going to want to check when you're doing your regular maintenance. The next thing is the tire pressure. That's going to be this little knob right here, or the stem is what it's called. If you don't have one of these, part stores, I mean, they generally give them out for free. It has this little stick that when the air hits it, it pushes it out, and that's what's going to tell you how much PSI or air pressure is in your tire. And you're going to check it by sticking this on the stem. You want to make sure that when you push it, nothing's going to get in the way. So I'm going to push it in right here, and you just do it, push it in, and it looks like there's 30 PSI in this tire, which means that I'm going to have to put some tire pressure into it. And the reason why I know that is there's a sticker in the door that says that there's about 35 PSI needed in every single tire. It doesn't have to be that specific as the sticker will show, but one of the things to keep in mind is that temperature actually changes the pressure reading. This is really something you only have to watch out for in the wintertime, because you might come out, check your tire, it's really cold and you see that it's really low, so you put in the recommended amount, and when your tires get that friction on the road, it heats them up and the tire pressure will increase probably past the recommended parameters. If you don't have an air compressor, sometimes gas stations or car wash places have air compressors there, and 35 around is good for this vehicle. One other thing to note is the TPMS Light, because they are just common and they're kind of difficult to get to. So if you have a TPMS light on, it's even more important that you're checking your tire pressure, making sure that there actually isn't a problem. If it's broken, you just kind of have to put in the legwork on your own. It doesn't affect the safety of the vehicle for it to be faulty. So let's talk about the 12-volt battery, and it is definitely not where you expect to find it. It is right here in this compartment. This is just a plastic cover. We're just gonna fold this back to remove this. So we're just gonna set this aside. This is actually some of your hybrid battery wiring, this orange. So this is something you don't really wanna mess with. Then we're going to take this cover off, and this is your 12-volt battery. It is a very small battery. It is not a standard battery, and it cannot be charged like a standard battery. You're going to want to trickle charge this with what we call a trickle charger. This is one of the trickle chargers that we use here at the shop. You can also change this from standard to AGM to GEL. They're different batteries. I believe this one is an AGM, but I can't remember off the top of my head. It probably most likely has it in the manual. If this battery does drain completely, you can charge it all you like, but it's pretty much never gonna come back from it. If it has drained completely, you're gonna need to look into a replacement. Let's talk about roadside procedures. This is where your spare tire is, this is where your wrench is, and this is your scissor jack sitting right here in the middle. Most vehicles have a jack that comes with the vehicle for roadside assistance. One of the things that you probably should check if you've bought a used vehicle is that your scissor jack is still in the vehicle. These tires are very small, the torque on them is very low. This vehicle on the roadside is something that I could even fix myself. Roadside assistance probably scares you. It scares me too, even though I work with these vehicles every day. It takes a lot of upper body strength to remove a tire. But these, they have low torque, 80 pounds, somewhere in there. That is something that a female probably has the ability to break, what we call braking. The hardest part is just to get the bolts off. It's highly likely that that's something you can do on the side of the road. One of the things that I love about these Priuses is they have special points on the vehicle for your scissor jack should you have a flat tire. Obviously, when you're on the side of the road, your vehicle isn't going to be up in the air, but I wanted to point out the jack points. These are pointed out in the manual. You can put your scissor jack here if that tire is down, here if that tire is down. This point was made for the scissor jack, and that point was made for the scissor jack. If you found this video helpful, please consider giving it a like or sending it to somebody who you know is looking into Priuses or already has a Prius. One of the things that I really appreciate about Toyota is their designs in these vehicles. They've made it extremely friendly to consumers, to people that don't know much about vehicles, to maintenance their own vehicles. If you enjoyed this basic maintenance overview, tell us a vehicle you'd like to see us do a basic maintenance overview on. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time in the shop.